Hey folks, Jonathan here. It's Tuesday morning, day 450 something I think. It feels like it anyway. Noah's here. We're getting back started making this rear panel. As you can see there, I'm trying to get the angle right to where it'll go down where I want it on the floor. So I'm bending that, and a few comments and questions I'm going to try to answer here. One thing is you know, everybody said narrow the rear. Well, you can't. Well, I'm not going to go through the trouble of narrowing the rear. You can find some farther inset rims, but these rims I've had around here for years, so I didn't have to buy the rims. Tires I bought, so we're just going to live with the gap. I mean, you know, it'd be nice if it were tucked in close, but you know, we're not worried about that right now. We're not trying to make a, you know, a show car or anything particular. So that's definitely not going to be on the list of worrying about. Now, as for the Y block, okay, when we put this Y block in, this is the bell housing we'll be using, and I'm going to make an adapter to adapt that other 5-speed T5 to this. So everything from right here back was going to be exactly the same. We're not going to have any issues with that. Clutch linkage will be easy because the forks, of course, same place, same side. This, from this distance to the engine, is actually longer than what the 6-cylinder is. So from my measurements and what I'm figuring, this is actually going to fit right in there, and without having to do any firewall work, any more floorboard work or anything. So we've got all that covered. We'll just have to make the motor mounts. We'll use a rear transmission mount. We won't worry about these bell housing mounts, and of course make some exhaust. But our only problem is the oil pump is here, the oil filter is there, so that creates a lot of issues with the steering box, and that's the reason that we're not swapping this over yet. Now this is a really good running engine. I just think, you know, a lot of you probably heard this one run, and we'll clean it up, do some seals on it and repaint it. And it's got a little, I don't know whether it's got a Ford or Strongberg. That's a Ford car. The 3-bolt. So, you know, we'll just keep running the 3-bolt. We're not worried about, you know, horsepower too much. But I don't think we're going to have any clearance issues. So I wanted to address that. You know, everybody said, well, you're doing all this work and then you're going to change it over to the Y block and have to change a bunch of stuff. Well, that's not the case. I've left enough room for the bell housing and everything that we're just going to have to worry about everything from there up. Nothing from here back. So there's that. Okay, and one of the other things is the fact that I'm using heavier steel or heavier sheet metal to do the floors and do all the interior, but I'm not bead rolling it because the bead roller won't roll this. But here's the deal: the lighter the car is, the faster it is, but the worse it's going to ride, and we're not worried about speed, so I would rather get a little weight in this car, and this is a pretty good way of doing it, and you're spreading the weight out pretty evenly. You know, it's not like sticking a 500-pound block in one spot. So that's what we're doing. And let me see, we got a 1950, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I've got a 1950 Buick seat frame down there, and Noah is going to get it, and we're going to try, possibly unsuccessfully, but we're going to try to narrow it up so I can recover it to put in here. This is about, we're going to need a seat about, you know, less than 4 feet, and that seat is probably, I don't know, 5.5 feet. So we're going to see how that works out. And I'm going to try to get this panel in. I wanted to get this panel to this weld. It would help us out making it easier to weld that, but you know, it's curved pretty good, so we're gonna play with it a little bit and see what we can do. But we still need it straight on this front side, and I don't want to curve it too much and make it where, you know, it don't look good. So but not putting bead rolls in, I'm keeping my pieces smaller. As you can see, I didn't make one great big piece. Even with the thick stuff, if you make one piece, you'll start getting it, you'll start tin canning, you can call it, you know, where it'll flex. So if you make it in smaller pieces, and especially if you bend the ends of them, they're not going to go anywhere, and they're not going to tin can, you know, and like it would if it was really big. So that's why, you know, everything's pretty small. We got to get the tank mounted in, and like I said, what I'm going to do is there's going to be 3 panels here. There's going to be one panel coming up welded in, and we're going to bring it all the way to the side of the body, and we're going to do the same thing on that side. Now really we shouldn't weld it to the body. It should be close to it, and then maybe seam sealer or something put between it, and then we're going to have one center section here that unbolts, and that way we can get to the gas tank if we ever need to. A lot easier than going over top anyway. But that's the plan. That's what we're going to work on now. I'm going to keep working on this back section. I'm going to get Noah to get that seat up here, and we'll go ahead and get him to cutting it down and seeing what we can do with it. So, all right, say hey, Noah.
Hey.
Noah.
No.
Noah. And here is our beautiful seat. I tell you what, I like it so much we might not even cover it. Might just put it in there the way it is. I like this seat for a few reasons. The mount's really low. I think that would work out fine. I don't like the length of it, but I think we could work with it. I don't like the fact that it's a double back. It's for a 2-door car, I'm assuming. Well, we'll have to get it moved. Now, it's not burnt, it's just rusted where it's been sitting for a long time. It's still got a little bit of cotton on it. So we would probably shorten it up, do everything we need to do, and then probably sandblast it. And it's in pretty good shape. It's not terrible. I think the way that we would narrow this is figure out our width and then cut it out of it and move this end over. And then we'll have to work with our wires. These spring wires I don't think you want to weld on, but I think this wire running long ways, we could probably gap it and weld it and be okay on it. Everything else, I think we can use it as long as it's not too long. And we're going to see. Well, I think what we'll do is take the back off, narrow it up, and then see how it sits in there, and see if we're going to be able to use it and clear it. I really want a spring seat because they sit so much better. They're so much softer. It seems like, you know, everything new is all foam and packed, and you don't get that, you know, the sitting in it. I'm sure a lot of you understand if you sit in old spring seat. And this is not the round spring like I'm used to, but we can cover this pretty easy and take care of this seat. So we'll see what happens. See what we figure out here. Okay, so Noah's cutting the seat down, and I'm doing the pattern for this. And then of course we're going to put a bend in it. He's noisy, ain't he? We're going to put a bend in it about 1 inch back. And that'll straighten up this, or strengthen up this edge. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. He's going to cut the seat, and we're going to put it back together, and then just sit it in here and see how it sits and how it feels. So that's what we're working on right now. All right. Okay, folks. Noah's got this cut, and we got it just tacked together enough to test it. It's about the most narrow 1950 Buick seat I've ever seen in my life. It's not much wider than a single bucket, but it's as wide as it needs to be. Plus, when you do the foam on top, you know, everything wraps over, so it's going to bring the width out even with the bottom. So it looks like we may go with this. I think we can make it work. And I sit in it, and when you sit in it, you actually clear. I mean, headroom, everything. And I think it might work out okay. And we'll just make it where we can take it out easy, get to the battery, which they don't mount on top, so we still can probably get our hands under there to move the battery box. We'll do something. I think originally this seat, I don't know if it went into brackets, because it don't have bolt down brackets on the front, but it does on the back. So maybe we'll do it where it'll come in and out easy or something, I don't know. But I'm gonna get these other panels in the back before we go much farther with this and decide for sure how we're gonna do it. So I hope it looks longer on camera than it does in real life here. I guess it's all real life, because it is really narrow. But you know, that's the way it's going to be done if it's going to fit. So I don't know. We'll give it a try. Okay, now we're really getting some body stiffening going on here. Went ahead and bead rolled them because this was the thin metal. The thinner stuff we put in here, and so what we're going to do now is I don't have a piece tall enough to go all the way down, so we're just going to build a small lip up here. That way we can put the screws in it anyway. So we're going to do that, weld it in, and then we'll have our panel that we can bolt over. And that'll keep our gas tank away from us, and that'll separate us between here and the trunk lid altogether. And hopefully soon I'm going to go ahead and cut this bar out, but once I make sure everything's supported good, this will be our last structure brace that we can get out of there. And this side corner's pretty good. We can put something in there, seam sealer or something. That one's not, because we haven't done the repair panel on that rocker yet in front of the wheel, so we'll keep working at it. Okay, we got the rear panel and got a couple of screws in it. Some more holes to drill and all that stuff, but this is what it's going to look like. And be ready for the seat. Got plenty of room. Surprisingly big. So, alright, we're going to get at probably trying to figure maybe the seat out or something. And like I said, we're going to cut this out, but I want to wait until we tie in the sides a little better. Okay, we got Noah learning how to fabricate cardboard into patterns. Remember, Noah, always cut extra. You can always shorten the cut, but you can't make it longer. Okay, folks, time to call it a day again. Of course, just like every day, didn't get as much done as we wanted. We did get the other door opened and on hinges. We did get the back panel finished up completely. Well, completely except for a few screws and quite a bit more welding to close up all them gaps and rust gaps and everything else, but that's not a problem. Gas tank's mounted in there and shouldn't be any issues with it, and any smell fumes will go out because it's open on the sides, and should be able to show you that from here. There it is. And the gas pill, I'm going to run a hose eventually from there, and I may just bring it out over here or something, but up until we're not going to do that before the crew's in anyway. We got the drive shaft back in, and I had to shorten it 3 1/4 inches. That was the difference between the 3-speed and the 5-speed. 3 1/4 inches shorter. Well, the transmission 3 1/4 inches longer. So we got most of the floor done. We've got it into there. I've got some rubber, sort of like a horseshoe shape, that's going to go on the edge of that. And I think I'll put some tabs on it and screw it into the firewall, and that should seal us up good. Shouldn't have any issues there. We've got more stuff to do and more welding to do, and some more repair work to do, especially on that side. Most of the stuff on this side is done, but not all. But pedals, I'm out of oxygen. I haven't had a chance to get to town to pick up some, so I've got to pick some up so I can get these pedals bent over and get them where I want them, and then I can finish the floor over here. So we've really got one little spot to do the floor, and run our steering through and figure out where it needs to be. It's going to sit good. I don't think we're going to have any issues. I am going to go ahead and recover that seat. Thinking about maybe red insert with black around the outsides, and I'll do that one evening, after dark, when I wouldn't be working on this anyway. So we'll knock it out as quick as we can, and at least we'll have a decent seat in it. Now for the back, I don't know what I'm going to use yet, whether I'm going to make something or how I'm going to do it, but we will get it figured out. Anyway, I had somebody call today, a subscriber call about doing more work on video, and I want to. A lot of the problem is between the fact that I'm in a real rush and the fact that the safety Nazis jump all over me, and people that have their own ways of doing things, and I may do them a little different. I got to hear it quite often, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and try to do a few, and we're going to do a little bit of sheet metal work on the other side of the panel, so I'll show you. But Anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and till next time, bye.